I think we're at a point in which men are tired of being told that they need to be fully healed before they're allowed to be loved. This has been on my mind for a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about emotional intelligence and being functional in life. Because if we look around us, especially online, from women who discuss dating and the self-help space, you'll hear this constant message that you need to fix everything, that you need to become emotionally perfect before you're worthy of her time. And I know it sounds empowering, at least to those women, even responsible. But in practice, it's completely unrealistic. Almost no one is fully healed. Almost no one arrives into adulthood without injuries, attachment patterns, or emotional baggage of some sort. Yet the cultural narrative from women demands that men do exactly that. So let's talk about why functionality matters far more than perfection, and why the healing first, connection later mindset is actually pushing men further away from the relationships that women are begging for. We often hear women demanding that they want or that they get so-called emotional intelligence from men. They want groundedness and stability, and yes, those are very valuable traits. But let's ask a rhetorical question. How many people truly live day to day with zero emotional issues or unfinished healing and are perfectly intact across every dimension? Of course, the answer is almost none. However, the modern self-help culture and women begging online for a good man has convinced women that emotional perfection is a prerequisite for connection. In almost every post, whether it's therapist reels and those about healing journeys, all of those memes, they all imply that men must fix everything before they're worthy of a woman's attention, let alone their love and respect. But psychologically, this is simply not true, and I dare say that it's not even possible. You don't need to heal everything to be functional, only to manage yourself well enough to participate in life, relationships, and growth without collapsing under discomfort. See, functionality is not perfection. It's stability, even under stress. Furthermore, research from the NIH shows that women are statistically more likely than men to experience mental health conditions. For example, in the United States, the prevalence of any mental illness is 26.4% among women versus 19.7% among men. And the APA reports about other studies that show women are twice as likely as men to experience anxiety disorders, depression, and eating disorders. In relationships, that distinction matters more than anywhere else. Because if emotional perfection becomes a prerequisite for women, then connection becomes permanently delayed for them. These women end up waiting for men to be ready for them while they're not even stable themselves, dumping all of their emotional trauma all over the internet. And meanwhile, life moves on without them. I'm believing more and more every day that a majority of women do not even realize how rare complete emotional stability actually is. Very few individuals, regardless of gender, enter adulthood without some form of attachment issue or even lingering emotional scars. Yet in dating and relationship discourse, especially online, women operate as if men should arrive fully healed, that they should be emotionally literate, financially stable, grounded, and calm, while women can still be in their healing era or begging for validation on TikTok. And it's just another unrealistic double standard disguised as their empowerment. And research bears this out. Large-scale mental health data from the National Institutes of Health consistently show that women report higher rates of anxiety, depression, and emotional distress than men do. They're also more likely to seek therapy or self-help, which increases the narrative that emotional insight equals emotional health. But self-awareness without self-regulation is not maturity. Many women who claim that they want an emotionally intelligent man are they themselves, more than 25% of them, still reactive, unhealed, emotionally distressed, or anything else. In truth, they're asking men to embody what they themselves have not mastered. This mismatch creates what psychologists call asymmetric emotional labor. Listen, I get it. We hear all the time from women who say that I'm doing all of the emotional labor. When us guys, all we want is to say, stop with the emotions. So What I mean here is that men are expected to be both the stable container and the emotional caretaker, while women are allowed to process their emotions without end. And the message to men is that you must do the work before you're worthy of a connection with me. And the message to women is that connection is part of her healing process, which is still ongoing. And the result is an imbalance wherein men must demonstrate readiness while women are allowed to evolve inside and during the relationship with his assistance. When combined with the cultural tendency to validate women's feelings and pathologize men's restraint, it reinforces the illusion that men's imperfections are dangers, but women's are depth. From a psychological perspective, this is just self-help absolutism branded as gendered expectations. Wincott's concept of the good enough parent from way back in 1953 applies perfectly here. Stability, not flawlessness, is what builds security. And 40 years after that, in 1993, a researcher by the name of Linehan described emotional regulation as the capacity to function through dysregulation, not the absence of it. The healthiest relationships don't consist of two fully healed people. They consist of two people capable of repairing without destroying each other in the process. So my counterpoint to the modern emotionally intelligent man ideal is not cynicism. It's realistic. Emotional intelligence is not about perfection, but rather control and composure under pressure. What women need is the humility to accept that everyone carries something unfinished. When that truth is accepted, relationships will stop being character audits of who's more evolved and start being collaborations between two imperfect yet perfectly functional adults trying to grow together without weaponizing men's pasts.